Assalamu alaikum. So I decided to record some of these lectures that I do for my Sunday school. I did for my children. I call these lectures that changed my life, or like what my wife liked to say, should have changed my life. But I still like to give it to other people as well, the knowledge, and I leave it up to them as much as they can, follow it. I think these are very, very good topics. So what happened was that me and my wife, when we were traveling back from Pakistan, usually watch movies together in the plane. But my wife figured it out that there are in fact very interesting lectures as well. It's not just the movies. So she wanted me to listen to the lecture, which was how to be a good listener. But before I could listen to that, I saw another lecture, which was the sources of energy. That in fact kind of interests me so much more, because I realize that I always feel like that I have just lack of energy. If I had more energy, I would do a lot more with my life. So I listened to the lecture. It was by Tony Schwartz. He, I think, has a website as well, but this is his lecture. I am just in fact giving it to you in hopefully less than 7 or 8 minutes. So first you have to realize that there are sources of energy which cannot be changed or interchanged. So the first one is in fact the physical energy. In physical energy, there are four aspects that you have to remember, and all of those four cannot be interchanged. You cannot do this thing that get in the physical energy from one source and expect that you are going to ignore the other. So the most important one of them is in fact sleep. 95% of the people, I'm board certified in sleep medicine as well, so I can tell you that 95% of the people need more than 8 hours of sleep. Another 2.5% will probably need more sleep than that as well. So if you just have to guess, you probably are in that group where they need at least 8 hours of sleep. So that is very important. What we do is that if we are short on time, or if we are have a deadline to meet, we do first thing is that we compromise our sleep. What we don't realize is that by compromising our sleep, if you look at your life and realize that the amount of life that you're going to live, the time that we waste because of having a lack of sleep is so much more that it does not compensate for it by having in fact good amount of sleep. If you had good sleep, your productivity will be a lot better, not only in the long term but also in the short term as well. So number one, you want to make sure that you have sleep that is at least 8 hours. The second one is nutrition. The only one thing that you want to remember in nutrition is that if you can avoid plain sugars, that will help you a lot. The reason is a lot of time, once again, when we want some more energy, if we are trying to stay awake late and trying to take care of the stuff that we need to, we rely primarily on sugars to stay awake. Or if we are stressed, we rely on sugars as well. That sugar may provide us in short while a little energy to take care of it, but the crashes that it gives, and if you keep again this example in your mind, that if say for example an average life of 80 years, out of the 80 years maybe 20-30 years you spend sleeping, the time that you are awake, the time that you get wasted by having the sugar crashes are a lot longer than the amount of energy that sugar gives it to you. So it's important to have healthy carbohydrates, but if you can avoid sugars. And remember, the sugars is not just candy. Sugar is not just the sweets. The sugar is also sometimes the snacks that may be salty, but are primarily just for the reason of to get the plain carbohydrates. Number three is exercise. Exercise gives energy, and I'm going to just talk about the type of exercise that gives us the energy, not the exercise that will make you lose weight, or not the type of exercise that is conditioning you. The exercise that gives you energy is in fact the high intensity training zone. So in the high intensity training zone, basically what you're doing is you are increasing your heart rate to your fullest capacity for just 2 minutes, and then you're letting it slow down. The fitness, in fact, in other words, could be defined as that how quickly your body recovers. So you can do any exercise. You don't need any equipment right now, in this lockdown. You don't have to go to the gym. whatever you do that can really push you to the limit for 2 minutes, and then you relax for 2 minutes, and then you do it again for 2 minutes, and you relax for 2 minutes. 5 cycles of it, which basically requires 20 minutes, would give you more energy than anything else. Now, the fourth thing is rest. So first three things, I knew it and it wasn't new to me. But when I heard that lecture, the rest was a unique concept to me. So the rest, first you have to understand this concept that cortisol, which is a stress hormone, which releases in brain, in fact, takes only 1 minute of calming down yourself that can bring the level of cortisol down to normal. So the rest is defined as not being on your telephone, not being chatting or something, but it is more like meditating, like focusing on one point, clearing your thoughts. So the way the human brain works is that after 90 minutes, the human brain's performance gets down really low. So if you could do rest for 90 seconds or maybe 2 or 3 minutes after 90 minutes, your performance can go back. You can like recharge your batteries again for the next 90 minutes. So remember this thing, it's not that you're taking a break by being on your phone. You have to kind of shut down your mind and focus it on one point. That's exactly the definition of the meditation as well. From Islamic perspective, the time period that we have for prayers, for example, the midday prayer, and then the afternoon prayer, and the evening prayer, that few minutes that we spend, 4, 5, 7 minutes, in fact allow us to shut down, and it can in fact rejuvenate and energize your brain. If you're not religious, make time for yourself to meditate. That will allow you to perform a lot better after that 90 seconds. Now, the second source of energy is the mental energy. So the mental energy is that how focused are you when you're doing it? We have all noticed that that there are time periods in our life that we were so focused that we were able to achieve a lot more, and there are time of the day as well sometimes when we have achieved a lot more than other times in a day. So when I ask this question to some of my younger kids, they all, without any exception, usually say, oh, it's in the middle of the night that they are most focused. I understand this thing because this point is usually because of less of the distraction, less of their friends, or less of their less of the distractions are there. But physiologically, most people are in fact most focused in the early morning when you first wake up. So if you have to remember just a couple of things, one, from the principle from the rest, that you realize that when you want to do something important and you have a few things to do, you want to prioritize, do your most important thing when you're most focused. For most of you, is going to be the first thing in the morning. And number two, make sure that you have a set time for it. Don't plan that tomorrow you're gonna have spend 8 hours and you're gonna go through all of that physiology book, or you're gonna prepare the presentation all day long. The moment you make a plan like this and the brain knows that it is something that is more than that 90-minute planning, it in fact will stall you from the beginning. When you will wake up, you will think of 100 different things to do before it will allow you to go to do that thing. Instead, if you just realize that, once I wake up, I'm going to do this most important thing for an hour or hour and a half, 90 minutes, and then I'm going to stop. If you made a plan like this, your brain will allow you to even start at 8 o'clock if you want to start at 8 o'clock. So this is very important. Number one, focus and put your most important things first thing in the morning. Number two, have a start and end time and limit it to an hour to hour and a half early in the morning. Number three, this was again the concept that was very unique, and so I really liked it as well. So I want to explain it to you so it will make a lot more sense. The emotional energy is that how do we feel while doing the things? Do we feel good about it? Do we feel great about it? If you see that when we have achieved great things in our life, those moments we have felt and if you ask any athlete, sportsman, or any person who has achieved really well in an exam, they will tell you that they felt in the zone. They were really feeling great. So that is what the emotional energy is. If I put it up on a, like, in these four quadrants, and put up on the right side, say, feeling positive, and here, feeling negative, having high energy, and here, low energy. So most people will achieve the most in their life when they're feeling positive, they're happy, they're great, they're good, and at the same time, they have high energy level. So this zone is that most people will achieve the most in their life. But obviously, we cannot stay in this. So sometimes you will notice that, you're still in high energy, but you're feeling negative. And this is the time period when you are here, where you are irritable, but still high energy. You are snappy, you are like, I fall into that quite a few times. After this lecture, I try to recognize this. If I see myself heading towards this, I kind of like, recognize and stop myself. This is like more like a flight, fright type of a zone where you have a lot of like, adrenaline and you're really pumped up, but you are irritable and negative. This zone, like you may achieve things and you may see people achieving things in these zones, but these zones don't allow you to get longer or farther in your life. So now the fourth zone, which is where you're feeling negative and you are in fact low energy as well. This is the burnout zone. A lot of us have felt this as well, where you feel like that you're just not only down and depressed, but you have like lack of energy, you don't want to do anything. What we want to do is we want to avoid this, because this is the time period opposite to exact feeling high energy and positive, where we are losing most of our time. Now comes a very important zone, which is this one, where you are positive and have low energy. This is a restoration of your energy, or this is the period where you're recharging yourself. If we can intentionally recognize at least these two zones, and if you feel that way, try to go back into the zone where we are recharging our batteries, where we don't get negative and with high energy, intentionally slow down the pace of our life to in fact keep ourselves positive, and we can bounce back between recharging ourselves energy wise and then going back into the high end positive. That's when we achieve the most in our life. Now, I think this is clear. Now, the spiritual part. This part is also very important and sometimes very undervalued, especially these days. People don't realize that their goals have reasons that are in fact once they achieve those, have no value to it. Like, for example, if you or if I was becoming a doctor because it made money and I was financially stable, the moment I achieved that goal, then there's nothing left in it for me. I'm not that excited about it anymore. Or especially like these days, for example, when we have this challenge of going and taking care of the patients, risking ourselves and our families of contracting the coronavirus. If I had done this just for the sake of money, it would be very difficult for me to convince myself or feel energetic to go for doing this. This is where the passion comes in your life. That's what the spiritual part of the energy comes from. It's very hard for me to explain to someone who is not spiritual or religious, but for a person who's religious, it is very easy to understand and very easy to realize that this source of energy is in fact needed and required. So like Tony Schwartz put it up as the good, the true, or the beautiful. So if you are doing a thing where you realize that is the right thing to do, that's the true thing to do, the energy or the passion that it gives it to you is never over. It's not even over if you are in fact continuously getting failure in it. For example, if I did in my life as a physician, I thought that I am taking care of the patients because that's the best thing to do for me to be able to apply my knowledge and ability to help and take care of someone. Even if the patient is not getting better, it wouldn't discourage me because I know the reason I'm doing this thing is that this is the right thing to do. Similarly, like, if you believed that in the beauty of doing the things, in that this is the good thing to do, that is what gives the passion in your life. That's what allows that if I do something that, I'm doing this for sake of Allah, I'm doing this for that I will have the reward in hereafter, then I am not looking for the reward or compliments from the people, and it does not discourage me when I'm not seeing the results. It does not make me give up when I am continuously in this world failing or not seeing a possible win. For example, practically speaking, if I want to do something and I realize that there is no chance that it could be achieved, I may give it up. But if I did it for the reason that this is the right thing to do, this is the thing that I'm doing it not for the sake of people, but for the sake that, the God wants me to do it, or for this reason that I will have a reward by God in hereafter, then even knowing in my mind that there's no chance of success, I will not lose my energy and my passion. That's basically it. I hope this will help a few people, and I will be back with the lectures that changed my life, or according to my wife, should have changed my life. Thank you.